What's going on? All right, in this video, I want to talk about spam and fighting spam and helping you understand how spam works on Google business profiles and how someone like me can help you do better by helping to level the playing field. There's just so many people who are spamming on Google business, right? There's so many keyword stuffed names that are egregious. There's even bad actors, fake websites occasionally, or people who are kind of having multiple. Well, I think that's really what it is. I think over keyword stuffed and then potentially fake profiles. I just ran into one in my area with a guy who was basically charging people money to list their business on his website. And he was calling himself a landscaper when he doesn't do landscaping, right? But he was ranking really well. So there's all these kinds of like businesses out there or people who are stuffing their name with keywords, and that puts you at an unfair disadvantage. And so I think understanding how this works on Google Business and how an SEO can help remove spam and level that playing field out, I think is really important as a home service provider or a contractor. Just even if you just can understand what's happening and why this is unfair, right? And then with that, I'm going to go through some examples here and just talk about it. Look, and this is like really, really high. It was interesting to me on the list from SEOs of what moved the needle the most for their clients. This was in the top 5, removing spam in their area. And so I just kind of want to go through this. Look, I'm a little scared to talk about this, if I'm being honest. And this can have a really negative impact on other people's businesses if done wrong. And I'm not here to hurt other people. I'm not here to try to take somebody else's business down. And so unless it's obviously spam in that sense. Otherwise, what we're doing here is just readjusting the field, right? So let me show you what I mean, right? Now, I talk a lot about your business name on Google, right? If your name is John's Plumbing, okay, that's a reasonable name. If your name is John's Plumbing and Electrical, okay. If your name's John's New York Plumbing, Electrical, and HVAC repair services for air conditioners and heaters, now you're starting to get further. And if your name is John's Air Conditioner Repair / heating repair / emergency HVAC services / right? So you get where I'm saying. So it's this weird thing on Google. The fact that this even exists is mind-blowing because Google has given all this power to your name, right? If your keywords are in your name, you get power. So everyone wants to have more keywords, right? But so it just becomes this real weird thing that we've devolved into. That being said, once again, this is how we can kind of fight spam and make it so people who are competing with you, who might be doing it kind of unfairly, I would say, we can go make some adjustments. So we have a suggest tool that we can use on our accounts, especially and I just pulled up Phoenix Plumbing here. Look, this is not meant to be a target at anyone. I'm not trying to call anybody out. Believe me, we're all doing this, right? At some level. That being said, there's going to be more egregious things here, and I just want to point those out. And if I was doing this as my job that I do for clients, I would be making suggestions to Google of name changes here. I'm not going to do that here, but I just want to use this as an example to talk about how this is helping people and to look at some of our options. So we come down here to our first option here, Phoenix Plumbing and Drain Service. That's not really that crazy of a name. And if we go into Arizona's entity search, so you can always go to the LLC search for your state. This is the one for Arizona. I can put in an entity name and search, and you can see here that, look, Phoenix Plumbing and Drain Service is a trademarked name, and they are using this name. And so these guys are doing everything by the book, right? Their name matches exactly what their LLC is, right? And that's the name they run off of. And if I wanted to even take this further, we can see they have that actually as their URL exactly. So that's, another level. This is weird though, right? Phoenix Plumbing is their name up here. So I think there's actually an argument to be made that their name isn't Phoenix Plumbing and Drain. It's Phoenix Plumbing. They've added this drain later. So I don't know. This is where things get a little bit fishy, right? But if your name is not going to be the same, and we can even take this a step further, right? We can actually take a look at their building, right? If I open this map up here, I can actually, they don't have a building. They don't have a physical location. Okay, cool. So, if I was them, I'd definitely make sure this up here says Phoenix Plumbing and Drain. I can see it does down here, but now this is and drain service. So that's going to be a little bit, now you're in fishy water, right? If things aren't going to line up exactly, then you're putting yourself in fishy water in my book. So there's that. Now we come down here to a more, I would say, obvious representation of what is not going to be allowed, right? Or a spam listing. So why are they doing this? Why do they put this in twice? They're putting Phoenix Plumbing Company in here so that when somebody searches for Phoenix Plumbing or Phoenix Plumbing Company, they're more likely to rank. So this is kind of the point of all of this. When people do this to you, it hurts you. When you do this, it helps you and hurts others. So it is, in a sense, kind of stupid that this matters at all, but it does. And that's the game on the field. So look, I think these, whenever you have to use a hyphen, I think that kind of says a lot, right? Not necessarily, but it does say more. So we can see here, their name is Summers Plumbers, Phoenix Plumbing Company. Their website is Summers Plumbers. If I go to their website, we can see here it's Summers Plumbers, right? So this, even if I go to a search on the entities here, right? I can see that their name is Summers Plumbers LLC. So I think this is a good candidate where I would say this is not accurate, and I can edit this, or I can send an edit into Google saying that their name has been altered from what it really is, and it should not be this. Okay? So that is a really good example of where somebody is getting an added benefit from putting keywords in their name. Now, this is what I spend a lot of time on. I don't want to get into this right now. But your primary category is so effective for your business, and the words in your name are so effective. But look at this. These guys are Parker and Sons. No freaking keywords at all. And they're an HVAC contractor. But the fact that they have 27,000 reviews means they're showing up for Phoenix Plumbing. They do offer plumbing. But I just thought that was really interesting that just, if you can get so many reviews, I mean, they're getting like 40 a day. They must be doing hundreds and hundreds of different jobs, whatever. I just, that's a little side insight. So now we have Donley AC and Plumbing. Look, I think, I think when it's obvious when it's reasonable, right? So they're Donley AC and Plumbing. Their website is Donley Service, Donley AC and Plumbing up, over here. And let's see what they have. Okay. Oh, let's try Donley. What did we say? Donley Service. So Donley Service Center. Don't think that is the same. Donley. Let's see if we can find air or plum. 25. Let's try this. So Donley LLC. I don't think that's even the right county. So, as far as Google is concerned, and this, that seems to be their name. I get that. But if I were them, I would make sure it could be me. Let me say that. I could be seeing this wrong. But if I were them, let's see here if I can open this up. Are they a service area? No, they even have a location. So if I were them, I would make sure that I had that name here in this. Maybe this is it. Donley Commercial, right? Donley Service Center. I don't think that's it. So. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a case where you could say, "Hey, look, your name is Donley, or you don't have the right name." I would move on from that myself, but that is not great if you can't find your business on your corporation, right, in the LLC. So Phoenix Plumbing LLC, that seems pretty legit, Phoenix Plumbing, okay, cool. That makes a lot of sense, right? Phoenix Plumbers and Drain Cleaning Services. So that one, once again, seems a little bit over the top now. Phoenix Plumbers today. So that's interesting. Let's check out the website. These are where I kind of get interested, if you really followed this around, right? If I really did some digging here, I would be asking myself, okay, so Phoenix Plumbers and Drain Cleaning, Plumber Phoenix, okay? This is where I start asking myself, there's no information about anybody. It's just a landing page, right? If I come here, are there any photos of people? No. These are the kind of businesses where you start to ask yourself, is this legit, or is this just a listing created to try and get on the map and get leads, right? And they're emergency plumbing, that's really okay, you're targeting emergencies, that's even a higher, right? And there's nothing in this that says I'm a real person. So these are the kind of things where you could climb down a little bit of a rabbit hole. You could call that number and try to figure out, is there a Phoenix Plumbing Company, right? Or is this just a different company who's trying to have a second listing? Phoenix Plumbers. Well, yeah. So that's an interesting question. So once again, you're not allowed to misrepresent your business to create some, and usually there's a middleman too, right? If ABC Plumbing is getting those leads, well, they're probably paying for those leads from another company who's creating a landing page and selling those leads. That is not allowed, okay? And I think it's important for me to stress, I'm not trying to do anything here that isn't already supposed to be enforced by Google. And oftentimes I feel like Google already knows this, but they need a nudge, right? They need somebody to say, hey, look at this. And they say, yeah, we already kind of thought that was the case, but we didn't know. So once again, if this is a real company, I'm not trying to point anything out here, but I would make your company more obviously a real company and try to represent yourself. And also I would be getting I would definitely have your business listed in the corporation listings for your state. All right. Wyman Plumbing and Mechanical here, right? So, hey, look at that. There's people. Well, that's usually a good sign. They have LLC. Oh, look at that. They even named their business exactly that. It has an LLC for exactly that, right? And yeah, plumbing and mechanical. Great job. That is a great way of getting some keywords in your name, right? And being legit. That's exactly what you want to do, right? So, okay, all Aloha Plumbing, Phoenix. So if I'm gonna guess, Aloha, the Phoenix is added. All Aloha Plumbing with Phoenix added. Oh, nope, they have All Aloha Plumbing Phoenix LLC. So, yeah, I still think you could make an argument here that that's not their name with the Phoenix and that they're using that as an added benefit. Is it egregious though? Nah, I don't think so. I still think it's somewhat of a misrepresentation, right? Because they are they're a company in San Diego, right? So they're using all of these secondary names. So, if you can't represent in your logo because you have to have these added words, that's going to give you a boost. They know that gives them a boost. They're doing it in a way to try to get less of a slap on the wrist here. But I would say it's probably not. Yeah, well, whatever. It is what it is. So let's just go down here. This one. So here's another one. Maloney Plumbing and Drain Services in Phoenix, Arizona. That seems to be they're not even hiding it, right? They're not even hiding the fact that even just by saying in Phoenix, right? Maloney Plumbing. Let's try that. So their name is Maloney Plumbing. That's their name, registered with the state. And they are adding the drain services and in Phoenix. I mean, when you say in Phoenix, you're not even trying to disguise the fact that that's just added on, right? It's not part of the name. So I would say, yeah, you can see right here, their URL is Maloney Plumbing, right? And they are Maloney Plumbing. So I think there's an argument here that even this drain services in Phoenix, Arizona is all overkill. I'm almost done here. I just think this is important to understand, right? How many people are adding all of this? So these guys, these are usually the big companies, right? That they know what they're doing. This looks like one of these probably been bought out by, a private hedge fund or something, right? And they usually know what they're doing. I say that because if I go to their website, right? They put it in their logo, right? They want to make sure that's part of their logo. It's the exact same, right? Written the exact same. Electric, heat, plumbing, heating, and air. Plumbing, heating, and air, right? So even though these kind of things look like they're egregious, they usually have a pretty good, oh, wow, that's interesting. Any hour. Trade name. So that's their name. I feel like I can just tell when those are the big dogs. So I don't think you'd get very far barking up that tree. I think they know what they're doing in that situation. And when they're trying to target so many keywords, it actually doesn't really hurt you that much. I'm more worried about very specific keywords, like custom plumbing of Arizona, the Drain Whisperers. Which is your name? That's 2 names. Let's see. Custom plumbing of Arizona. Okay. The Drain. I don't even understand it. Your other name is better anyways. So they're not keyword stuffing. They are adding useless keywords to their custom plumbing of Arizona. But, in this kind of a situation, I feel like I get that. I just feel like you almost hurt yourself by having it this way, because somebody's going to come in, they're going to take out this. They're going to try to make the argument that your name is the Drain Whisperers. That's what you wanted it to be named. But custom plumbing of Arizona, that's great. That's a really good name. So that's all I'm going to talk about. Look, the point of this is when you have somebody in your corner who can go through and eliminate the competition in your area, not eliminate, tamp down the people who are abusing the system and put yourself in a position, it puts you in a position to rise through the ranks quicker, especially if you're doing all the other things, like getting reviews and really getting out there and doing a good job for customers and putting out door hangers. And that's how you win. But sometimes, it's important to put yourself at a level playing field with other people. As you can see, if you can get 1 billion more reviews than anybody, okay, cool. But if you're kind of neck and neck with somebody, or you should be, but they're keyword stuffed for these keywords, it hurts you. So I don't know if this point was really understood or if this is just more rambling. This has been something I've been looking at and studying a lot, and, I'm very involved with it. I think at the end, it's really Google's fault. I mean, this is, I don't know how else. I'm not giving any kind of solutions, but it just does kind of seem ridiculous that you can get such an advantage by putting more keywords in your name. But that being said, spam fighting is one of the top voted activities that an SEO can do for his clients. And so that's just the way that it has to be. And that's a benefit with somebody like me in your corner. You get to rise up higher, get more leads. My name's Josh at brightbeamseo.com. Feel free to reach out if you want to talk more about your business. Hopefully this has been educational at some level for contractors, home service businesses, and understanding generally what's happening out there, how the game works. Reach out to me if you want, brightbeamseo.com. We'll see you later.